Welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Let's see. I'm making this absurd claim this week that blessings are going to overtake us. In more colloquial language, they're going to chase us down and tackle us. Where does that line come from? Where do we get chased down and tackled? It seems to come from the several places, but the story of the prodigal son. The prodigal son is a good kid, but he has notions of his own and decides to ask Pops for his inheritance in advance. In other words, God, give me all of your will now, please. And the prodigal son goes off and has just a damn rip snorting good time. Things seem to begin to go haywire after a while as he gets lost in the commotion of quote people, places, and things and their seductive nature. Sound familiar? Sure does to me. Anyway, so he begins to squander his cash and spend money on the wrong things, and then a couple people betray him, and then he's kind of running out of cash, and then he's got to get a crappy job shoveling pig dung, so to speak, not the highest quality job. And then he's doing that, and one day this notion comes to him out of the blue, it seems, and he thinks, there's just something better for me. This can't be what I was born for, to be stuck in all this restraint and limitation and misery and suffering. And then perhaps the greatest thought of all, in modern language, we might call it a moment of clarity. In ancient religious language, he thinks, I shall arise and go into my Father. And he does that religious word of repenting. Anybody ever shake their finger at you and say, repent, repent? But the deeper meaning means to quit walking in the wrong direction and walk in the correct direction. And then, it's like, well, yeah, I was living a bad lifestyle, or I was doing I was misaligned with my purpose, or I was behaving suboptimally. Again, there's so many ways to say these things. Find the way that you say it that means the most to you, that actually resonates, I think is a really important process. But he starts to move in what he senses to be the direction of his higher power, and God comes out, chases him down, and tackles him, and kisses him, and gives him great gifts, and holds a giant party. So there's one more story that says, upon proper orientation of ourselves with the infinite, that the great blessings that are available to all of us, they come to us rather than us wandering in the world and squandering our resources to try to grab some starvation wages or some scraps and drag them into our life and hold on for a little while. Doesn't that sound like a refreshing way to live? It sure does to me, and I bet it does to you too. And I know each and every one of us is seeking this. And so, hey Greg, hey Buster, hey Mister, how do I most efficiently and effectively get myself into proper alignment, orientation? How do I bring myself into proper proximity with God, love, source, so that I get in the way of all these blessings? And by getting in the way, I mean getting aligned with, not obstructing. So I made a little list. Here's all you have to do today. You ready? Proper diet, exercise, therapy, constant practice, self-improvement, service, moderation, restraint, intellectual increase, higher intelligence, continuing education, and self-examination. Oh my God. Well, I think some religions have up to 600 things you have to do every single day, but a great spiritual master, when asked, said just two things. There are just two things you got to do. So thank God for this, and here's all you got to do. Love the Lord your God. Love the Lord your God. I like how the word your is not somebody else's God. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, and mind. In other words, all in. And then one other commandment, and this is it. This is, talk about a brief set of instructions. Thank God. This is way easier than putting like an IKEA bookshelf together. And the second commandment is, of course, love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Well, first of all, this implies that we learn to love ourselves. That in itself is a challenge, isn't it? But then it says, love your neighbor as yourself. And of course, we think, well, of course I love my neighbor. I love that guy down the street who kind of conforms and aligns with the way that I think. But that neighbor who parks his pickup truck upside down in his front yard, or that neighbor with that funky sign in his front yard, or that neighbor that thinks differently, or that neighbor who plays that crappy music that I don't like way too loud, or the neighbor who cuts me off on the freeway, or the neighbor who's in line with 13 items at the 10 items or less, who's in my way. Well, I'm certainly not loving them. In fact, I'm actually praying for God to smote them, because the real God actually smotes my enemies for me. But then we're breaking the law and the prophets, kids, and then we're blocking these benefits, these blessings. God does not so quickly come out and tackle us. So all we have to do today, you guys, here it says right here, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, and mind. And then love your neighbor. Of course, the neighbor you already love, that's a piece of cake. But today, when you just look at the news or look at anybody or anything, it's like, well, I ain't loving that neighbor. Just remember to love that one. And if you're not loving yourself, because that's your closest neighbor, love that one too. And then all these blessings shall overtake us. What do you think? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a beautiful day.